Good morning. Thank you for joining me. Brief update for you on the two-year-old season in France. I know we've had the Brockles being the first couple of two-year-old mains in the UK, but the French season's been on the go for about 10 days now. We've had 4 races, so I thought I'd have a brief run through and a summary of what we've seen so far. Quite a fascinating couple of contests, but in particular, there are some horses to take going forwards as we head on into April. Going to share my screen and just take you through each race one by one so we get a good idea of where we are. This was the first race, which came last Sunday, the traditional openers for the French two-year-old season now, the Prix de Premier Pas at Lyon-Paris. Race was over 900 metres. The ground, officially the going stick was at 4-0 on the penetrometer. Very soft in French terms. Is probably the equivalent of good to soft. Soft in places for the UK. The race was won by Silene Chope for the Tavares yard. Gutafane filly, really nice filly, got a lovely profile. But if you look at the family, it's all about precocity. I've looked through 5 or 6 winners in the immediate family. All of them were winners within the first 2 or 3 starts, but they don't necessarily hold their form that well. They certainly don't train on beyond the age of 3. So it is a chance that she was just more forward than most of these. Bounced out, made all, had the race put to bed with 2 furlongs to run, and she won quite nicely. The second emerges with a lot of credit, Viva Libre for the Vermeulen yard. He's a nice colt by Van Beethoven. Took a little bit of time for the penny to drop, but he made some really good late progress. Was running on nicely. I'd expect him to probably find a race at some point. Third, Le Marquises ran okay, but wasn't outstanding. The other one that I do think was worth noting here was La Petite. She's by Zarak out of an Invincible Spirit filly. She's not really bred to be a 2-year-old sprinter over 4.5 furlongs, but this horse was sent off at 2.4 on the PMU, a well-backed favourite, almost at the expense of everything else in the field for the Cotier team. Now, we don't really know how good she is because she completely blew the start, was 5 lengths down after the first 50 yards and never really recovered, and certainly wasn't asked for everything when it became apparent she wasn't going to win. I thought it was quite noticeable, really, that this filly was so well backed when there were some speedier, more precocious types in there on paper. She's certainly one to look at going forward. I think by the way she's shaped, though, she's going to need a lot more than 5 furlongs before she's winning. As for the winner, Silene Chope, they're obviously going to want to take advantage of her precocity. I would imagine there'll be a Class 2 conditions race for her at the end of April that they may look at. There's also a listed race for fillies at Vichy in May, which may also come up as well if they could get some black type on her CV. She was very professional, knew her job, broke really smartly. I think she's the kind of filly who'll make hay early in the season. I'd expect to see her winning again if she gets the right set of conditions. But by the end of the year, I'd imagine there'll be lots more here who may well have improved past her. That was the Prix de Premier Pas. The second race then came up at Marseille. This was the Prix de Carcarrain, over 5 furlongs. This was relatively quick ground. I'd have it around good to soft at most, 3.5 on the penetrometer. And it was an interesting winner. The first winner from a first runner for Hager Man as a sire. Eagle Gate was the horse. He saw out his race really well, travelled nicely, and as they came off the bend, he really stayed on. The second emerges with a huge amount of credit, Patisse. She's a stunning Spirit filly for Patrice Cotier. She broke well from the widest draw, worked really hard to get in front at the bend, looked to have the race won as they turned for home, but she didn't quite last out. But they were 2.5 lengths clear of the rest. I think there'll be a fillies race for Patisse at some point. As for the winner, Eagle Gate, he's another who'll be looking for a Class 2 conditions race, but you can't help but be impressed by his attitude and the way he hit the line. The third race then came last Thursday. This is the Prix de Debut at Saint-Cloud, the first of the 2-year-old races in Paris. It's over 900 metres. It's very deep ground. The ground was described as heavy, 5-0 on the penetrometer, and the times for the rest of the card would subscribe to that. The race was won by Amy Murphy with Convo, who's a Kodiak filly. Amy Murphy's got a good record in this race. Convo was backed at the expense of everything else, really. It was a very strange race. I have to say it's a really strange race. The winning margin is 5 lengths. It was 20 lengths back to the third. They were strung out like the washing. And to be honest, with the exception of the first 2, none of them were put in it. The race was over after a furlong because the front 2 had broken clear. No one else was really asked for significant effort. As for Convo, what do they do now? Well, he'll come back to France again with her, which would certainly be an option, particularly if they were looking for black type. The French maiden programme doesn't really follow the UK, so there aren't novice races where winners of one can get in under a penalty. So they'd have to look for a Class 2 conditions race for her or run under a penalty in the UK. Either way, she's proven she hands her with ground. She stayed on really well at the finish. She's a very precocious Kodiak filly. You may get another race out of her, but I think any price is likely to have gone for that one. The final race came at Le Test this Saturday, and that was the Prixdelahorse. This is the race that I most struggle to get the handle on. Le Test can be a bit of a track that favours the draw bars on the sprint course, but I don't think that was the case here. We had a decent sized field of 9 going to post. The winner was Sweet Chope. It was another Van Beethoven colt. He stayed on really well to get the better of Lucky Kitchka, who made the running for Jane Sabania. The Sabania yard is obviously very good at getting their 2-year-old fillies ready to make a fast start. And she certainly did that. But what I would say is most significant about this race is the first two were 1-2 throughout. Sweet Chope taking it up with just over a furlong to run and staying on best. So those in behind are probably worth forgiving, particularly Fruition, who's a Romanised filly out of a nice 2-year-old Winvale chop from a few years ago. And also the Johnny Barnes filly Seat Mardini is also worth noting. Have we seen a superstar in France so far? Probably not. If I was to rank them in terms of order, the first one I would put at the top of the list is Silene Chope. She got a time form rating of 85 for winning that Leon Perrier race. Between April and May, there'll be plenty of options for her, and I think she'd likely to go in again. Aside from that, all of the winners have been relatively smart. They've all known their job on debut, but there's no doubt that we're yet to see the truly best ones. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll try and keep some updates on this French form going in the future. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on X or drop it in the comments below.